All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We're going to take a look at today's current affairs, all curated specifically for you UPSC aspirants out there.
That's right.
It's February 13th, 2025. And, well, we've got a lot to get through today. This is part one, so buckle up. And hey, if some of this sounds familiar from our past deep dives,
Right.
think of it as a little extra revision.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just to really hammer those concepts home. And before we get started, a quick reminder to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future and dives.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's kick things off with the devolution index. Ministry of Panchayati Raj is all set to release that tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, why should a UPSC aspirant care about this?
Well, the devolution index, it's all about understanding how power is actually distributed in India. It measures how effectively the central government is transferring responsibilities to local bodies.
Okay, so like panchayats and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. And this ties directly back to Article 243G and the 11th Schedule of the Constitution.
Ah, makes sense. So it's not just some abstract concept then, it actually has real-world implications.
Right.
Our source mentions practical utility, so what's that mean for the average citizen?
Well, imagine you're living in a village and you want to see how your local panchayat is actually functioning. How are those funds being used? Are development projects actually reaching the people they're meant to benefit? The devolution index makes this information accessible and transparent.
So it empowers citizens to hold their elected representatives accountable.
Exactly.
That's a great point. Okay, moving on to the agricultural sector. The Market Intervention Scheme, or MIS, has been revamped. Big changes, huh? What's going on there and why should we care?
So this is all about providing that safety net for farmers. The revised MIS is now part of the PM-AJAY scheme. One of the big changes is the increase in procurement limits, meaning the government can buy more crops directly from farmers.
Oh, so that ensures they get a fair price, even if, market prices are crashing.
Exactly, yeah. And there's also the option for direct farmer payments, so states can actually compensate farmers for that difference between the market price and a predetermined support price.
So it's kind of like a double layer of protection for farmers.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second to a story that might have caught your eye, the Bailey Bridge collapse in Sikkim.
Yes.
It's a reminder of how crucial infrastructure is. But before we get into that, what exactly is a Bailey Bridge?
So think of it as like a bridge-building marvel. The Bailey Bridge, it's a portable, prefabricated structure designed for quick and easy assembly, especially in, tough terrains, almost like a giant meccano fit for bridges.
Interesting.
And the really fascinating thing is, it was actually designed way back in 1941 during World War II.
Wow. It's really stood the test of time then.
It has.
But if it's so efficient, why don't we see Bailey Bridges everywhere? I mean, there must be some limitations, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. While they're versatile, they do have drawbacks. Primarily, their span length and load capacity are limited.
So they're great for temporary crossings like in emergencies.
Exactly.
But not ideal for permanent heavy-duty use.
Right.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about a scheme that's generating a lot of buzz, the UK-India Young Professional Scheme. Ballot opens next week, and this is definitely something to keep on your radar. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. So this scheme is a fantastic opportunity for young Indian professionals, we're talking 18 to 30 years old, to live and work in the UK for up to 2 years.
Wow.
To be eligible, you need to be an Indian national, have at least a bachelor's degree, and meet some financial criteria.
Okay, so let's say someone wins the ballot. What can they actually do in the UK under this scheme?
Well, they have a few options. They can pursue further studies, although they might need an ATS certificate for certain industrialized fields.
Okay.
Or they could even explore self-employment options. The scheme's designed to be flexible, allowing them to tailor the experience to their own aspirations.
This brings up an important point that's often discussed in the context of programs like this, and that's the potential for brain drain.
Right.
How do we balance this opportunity for individual growth with the needs of the nation?
That's a valid concern, absolutely, and a topic that's frequently debated, especially in the context of the UPSC exam. While these schemes offer great opportunities for, personal and professional development, we need to consider the impact on India's workforce. It's a complex issue. No easy solutions.
No easy solutions. It's something that you as future policymakers might be grappling with one day.
Exactly.
That's food for thought, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's all about finding that balance between individual aspirations and national development.
Right.
Speaking of development, we've got a situation unfolding in Karnataka that highlights that delicate balance between progress and conservation. The government's plan to build a tribal village within the buffer zone of the Brahmagiri Wildlife Sanctuary has sparked debate. What are the key concerns here?
Well, the Brahmagiri Wildlife Sanctuary, it's a biodiversity hotspot in the Western Ghats. It's home to a diverse range of flora and fauna, including the endangered lion-tailed macaque.
Okay.
Establishing a village within its buffer zone raises several red flags. We're talking about the risk of human-wildlife conflict, potential encroachment on critical habitats, and of course the overall impact on the sanctuary's delicate ecosystem.
So it's about trying to address the needs of tribal communities,
Right.
while also safeguarding our natural heritage.
Exactly.
How does this situation reflect the broader challenges of development in a country like India, a country that's so diverse and ecologically sensitive?
It's a classic dilemma that policymakers face.
Yeah.
How do we balance the needs of marginalized communities with the need to protect our environment? It requires a nuanced approach, one that considers both the social and ecological implications of development projects. And this dilemma often finds its way into UPSC discussions and debates.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to a creature that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, the crocodile catfish. Discovered recently in Guwahati's Bahimi River, this giant devil catfish has created quite a stir. What's the story here, and why is this discovery causing concern?
So the crocodile catfish, or Bagarius suchus,
Okay.
is a fascinating species. It's one of the largest freshwater catfish in Asia,
Wow.
and it can grow to over 1.5 meters long, weighing over 50 kilograms.
That's a massive catfish.
It is. And while it's a predator, the main concern isn't about attacks on humans. The real worry is its potential to disrupt the local ecosystem. Being a non-native species, it could outcompete native fish, maybe even prey on them, potentially leading to a decline in biodiversity.
Sounds like a textbook case of the unintended consequences of introducing a new species into an environment. This brings us to another important event happening right now. The 14th Asian Fisheries and Aquaculture Forum, or AFAF, is taking place in Delhi.
Yes.
How does this connect to the larger picture of fisheries and aquaculture, especially in India?
The AFAFIT is a major platform where stakeholders from all across Asia come together to discuss, trends, challenges, and innovations in the fisheries and aquaculture sectors. And India, as the world's second largest fish producer, plays a crucial role.
Right.
It's a chance to showcase our expertise, learn from others, and collaborate on solutions for sustainable fisheries management.
I'm interested in this year's theme, greening the blue growth in Asia-Pacific. Can you unpack that for us?
Sure. Think of it as a call for sustainability in the way we use the resources of our oceans and rivers.
Okay.
Greening the blue growth essentially means promoting environmentally responsible practices in fisheries and aquaculture.
So minimizing pollution,
Right.
conserving fish stocks, ensuring the long-term health of aquatic ecosystems.
Exactly.
It makes perfect sense, especially with the growing focus on the blue economy.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's dive into the world of trade and regional agreements. The Solvent Extractors Association of India has raised concerns about misuse of SAFTA norms.
Okay.
But before we get into specifics, can you give us a quick overview of what SAFTA is all about?
So SAFTA stands for the South Asian Free Trade Area. It's an agreement between 8 South Asian nations:
Okay.
Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. The main goal is to boost trade and economic cooperation in the region. Imagine a South Asia where goods and services flow freely across borders, fostering economic growth and prosperity for all. That's the vision behind SAFTA.
Okay, so what's the specific concern that's been raised?
Well, the Solvent Extractors Association is worried about potential trade imbalances
Right.
and the need for stronger regulatory mechanisms within SAFTA. They've specifically mentioned concerns about edible oil imports from Nepal and other SAARC countries.
Hinting at a possible exploitation of SAFTA rules. Sounds like navigating the complexities of free trade. How do you strike that balance between promoting open trade and protecting domestic industries? These are questions you'll need to grapple with as future civil servants. Now, for our final topic in Part 1, let's turn our attention to the Fishery Survey of India, or FSI.
Okay.
They've been in the news for discovering new fishing grounds in the Arabian Sea. This might seem like a minor detail, but why is it significant, and what's the FSI's role in all of this?
The FSI plays a crucial role in understanding and managing India's vast marine resources.
Okay.
They conduct surveys, gather data on fish stocks, and provide advice to the government on sustainable fishing practices. Discovering new fishing grounds is exciting because it can boost India's fishing industry, contribute to food security, but it needs to be done sustainably, without overexploiting these resources.
It's like striking a balance between harnessing the bounty of our oceans and ensuring future generations can also benefit. This is a topic we'll continue to explore in Part 2 of our deep dive, but tell us a bit about the FSI itself. Has it always been around?
The FSI has a pretty fascinating history that actually mirrors the evolution of India's fisheries sector.
Hmm.
It started as a humble deep-sea fishing station back in 1946,
Wow.
focused on bolstering food security through deep-sea fishing. Over the years, it transformed first into the Exploratory Fisheries Project in 1974, and finally, in 1983, it took its current form as the National Institute we know today, the Fishery Survey of India.
It's amazing to see how an organization that started with such a specific focus has grown to play such a significant role in shaping India's fishery sector.
It really is, and we're back for part 2 of our February 13th deep dive. Lots more to cover today, so let's jump right in.
Sounds good. And remember, every piece of info we discuss could be the key to unlocking success in your UPSC journey. Speaking of valuable discoveries, let's talk medicine. There's news about vancomycin.
Okay.
It's a common diarrhea medication, and it's showing promise in treating a specific type of inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD,
Okay.
that's linked to autoimmune liver disease. Now, this caught my attention. Diarrhea drug for a serious condition like IBD.
It's pretty fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
So vancomycin is an antibiotic, usually targets bacteria.
right.
But in this case, researchers are looking into its potential for a particular type of IBD where bacteria seem to be playing a role in actually triggering the disease. And then the link to liver disease adds another layer of complexity.
That makes this research even more significant.
It does.
Now, our source also mentioned potential side effects. This isn't something to take lightly.
No, absolutely not. While this research is promising, it's important to remember that vancomycin, like any medication, can have side effects, particularly in elderly patients.
Right.
There's that risk of hearing and kidney damage.
Okay.
And, this really highlights the importance of responsible antibiotic use and emphasizes the need for personalized medical advice.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that every medical breakthrough has its own set of considerations. Now, before we wrap up part 2, I want to circle back to a concept we touched upon earlier, the devolution index and its connection to Vixit-Part. Can you elaborate on that link? And its significance, for UPSC preparation.
Sure. So Viksit Bharat, or Developed India, is a vision of progress and prosperity.
Right.
And the Devolution Index plays a role in achieving this vision by promoting decentralization and empowering local governance.
Okay.
Imagine villages and districts having more control over their own resources, their own decision-making processes. That's the essence of Viksit Bharat development, driven from the ground up.
It's like giving power back to the people, letting them shape their own destinies.
Exactly.
So how does this tie back to the UPSC exam?
Well, the UPSC is designed to assess your understanding of how India is governed,
Right.
its challenges and its aspirations.
Yeah.
The Devolution Index, Viksit Bharat, decentralization, local governance, these are all interconnected themes that you'll see in the exam.
Okay.
It's about grasping those underlying principles and their implications, not just memorizing facts and figures.
That's a great takeaway for our listeners. Understanding the why behind the what is key for acing the UPSC. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our February 13th deep dive with more insights and analysis tailored specifically for your UPSC journey. And we're back for the final part of our February 13th deep dive. It's been a journey.
It has, hasn't it?
We've covered quite a lot.
We have. A lot of ground.
Yeah, lots of ground. But that's current affairs, right? Always dynamic, always interconnected.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like putting together a puzzle, and each piece of info helps us understand the bigger picture. Speaking of which, I wanted to circle back to the Fishery Survey of India, or FSI, and their discovery of those new fishing grounds in the Arabian Sea. How does this tie in with the whole blue economy concept we discussed earlier?
Well, it's about making sure we're using those ocean resources for economic growth, but doing it sustainably.
Right.
The FSI plays a big role in making sure those new fishing grounds are exploited responsibly without messing up the balance of the marine ecosystem. It's about, reaping the benefits without depleting their resource.
So finding that sweet spot, huh?
Yeah, finding that balance. And this ties back into the whole sustainable development idea, which is, as you know, a core theme in the UPSC syllabus. It's about meeting our needs today without, preventing future generations from meeting theirs. And that applies not just to fisheries, but to everything. Agriculture, industry, infrastructure, you name it.
It's amazing how these seemingly isolated events, when you look at them, they can be linked to these broader concepts of development and sustainability.
It's true. Everything's connected.
Okay, before we wrap up our deep dive completely, I wanted to touch on the UK-India Young Professional Scheme again. It's a fantastic opportunity, but we also talked about that potential for brain drain. What can be done to address that?
Well, it's a valid concern, definitely. While we want to encourage individual aspirations and global exposure, we don't want to lose our best and brightest to other countries for good.
Right.
Maybe the answer lies in shifting our perspective a little bit. Instead of seeing it as brain drain, why not see it as a chance to build a global network of skilled professionals? Imagine these folks returning to India with all this new experience and knowledge, ready to contribute to, nation building in a whole new way. It's a complex issue, but it definitely demands some creative thinking.
It does. Turning brain drain into brain gain. I like that. Okay, as we conclude this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Stay curious, stay informed, and connect those dots. Don't just passively take in information. Really analyze it. Think about the why. Ask yourself, how does this news relate to the UPSC syllabus, to India's challenges and opportunities, to my own aspirations as a future leader? The UPSC exam, it's not just about knowing the facts, it's about critical thinking and applying your understanding to the real world.
Absolutely. Wise words to end on. A huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through today's current affairs maze. And to all our listeners out there, we hope you found this deep dive insightful and useful. Hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the world of current affairs. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep striving for excellence. A 7T key.